UFC President Dana White has responded to questions surrounding a possible Conor McGregor and Nate Diaz trilogy. And as you can expect, Dana White, with his business head on and understanding the way things work, I think he's downplaying it with the idea in his mind that it can come to fruition. But the way he's playing it up to the media is that he's not interested in it at the moment. So the first quote I want to get to is he was basically asked this question about whether or not he could see this happening. He said, "You can't do three." He told Hot 97 in New York recently. Here's the thing. McGregor is a guy where if a fight falls out, this guy will step up. He doesn't give a... He's legitimately that guy. I've been on the phone and I've stood in the living room many a times and looked guys in the face when their opponent pulls out. Nobody faces adversity the way Conor McGregor does.
Quick point. How many fighters are just rolling through Dana White's living room?
I'd imagine he's got a very busy living room.
Just like, Nate, dude, you can't be using my couch. Put a coaster down.
Yeah, what is their
Ronda, out of my living room.
What is their living room manner? Like, you know that Nate Diaz walks in with the blunt and he's just like, "What's up, Dana?"
Out the window, open the window.
Nick, you can't do that in front of me. I'm the president. I don't give a fuck. All right, so basically, to take this further, to go into the next quote, this is what he said when he's talking about why he gives McGregor more leeway. "This is why I give this guy way more rope than I give anybody else. Conor can say whatever the hell he wants to. The guy steps up on 4 days' notice. He can say whatever he wants. We're in the fight game. Who really wants to fight? That dude wants to fight."
So before we go into some analysis, the weird thing was at the end of this 45-minute segment on Hot 97, he contradicts, not really, but in a way, his words towards the first quote. All in the same article. This is the last one when he was asked again about a trilogy fight with Nate Diaz and Conor McGregor. Here's the last quote. "I don't know. 1-1's good. They shouldn't have fought in the first place. We'll see what happens."
Yeah.
I think when we had the OG Ricky Strom on, he made a very good point, and that's this is his back pocket. Let's say next year, 2017, it's coming to the end of the year, and hypothetically they need a big spot. Regardless what happens with Conor's career, I'm going to throw out a crazy hypothetical. He gets his ass beat by Eddie Alvarez, and then he goes and fights again and gets his ass beat again, right? Which would be pretty bad for the UFC in terms of pay-per-view. Let's just say that. Well, then you can pull out. Oh, he's on a 2-fight losing streak. What about Conor? Is he done? Let's have him fight Nate Diaz again. Boom, big money. Or the opposite. Let's say Conor goes and beats the crap out of Eddie Alvarez, or just wins via decision, or whatever. He wins that belt. And then he does, I don't even know what happens after that. He goes up to 210 pounds and fights somebody, maybe drop to fight Demetrius Johnson.
I think you see him probably defend his
at
belt.
125, something like that. And he's got a 2-fight or 3-fight win streak. And then you can say, all right, now he needs to break the tie to really solidify himself as maybe the pound-for-pound greatest fighter of all time. Again, these are all hypotheticals. Please, by God, go easy on me in the comments. Then you go, okay, it's coming around New Year's 2017, turning 2018.
Yeah.
I got to fight. I got an idea. Let's put Nate Diaz and Conor McGregor in the octagon again.
Yeah,
because what's Nate Diaz going to do for the next 8 months? Probably nothing.
He's doing nothing. He basically said he was going on vacation.
He's going to chill. Good for Nate Diaz.
I think that's absolutely right. I think that Dana White, the more you downplay it, the more people start to think it's not going to happen. And then when you pull it out, when you pull that ace card out, that's exactly what it's going to be. It's going to be the ace in the hole that he will use when he has to. At the moment, he's given Conor McGregor what Conor McGregor wants because Conor McGregor has saved his ass. And Conor McGregor has saved cards. How many fights have we seen drop by the wayside and go off underwhelming? Anderson Silva versus Daniel Cormier. I slept.
Yeah.
I slept.
And
right?
I mean, that's a John Jones problem.
John Jones problem.
I think what you're saying is you slept, but you also love Anderson Silva for being...
No, it drew me into the fight. But
it was being a dad in the octagon and still fighting.
It was underwhelming, but... What happened with the Rafael dos Anjos point of view is what Dana White addresses here in another quote, which I'll read for you. Is that Rafael dos Anjos steps out. That's an exciting fight because there was already the tension back and forth. It was a fight that McGregor was looking forward to potentially showcase his ability in a higher division. But then up steps Nate Diaz, who called out Conor McGregor before, as we see. So there's some sort of animosity there. But then Conor McGregor has to come in, try to weigh 168, when they're weighing in at 170. And the night of the fight, Diaz comes in at 190. Conor McGregor is disregarding the difference in weight because he wants to prove himself for that. And whether that's stupid, as it was, it turned out to be stupid in the first fight. The weight differential was a clear advantage in Nate Diaz in the first fight, but McGregor bounces back again because he doesn't want to let that fall by the wayside. And whether you hate McGregor or think that I just love the guy, by all means, and I think in the last video it did solidify that I'm a big fan of his. I think that he's world-renowned, and I think that he's making a name for the sport elsewhere where it never has usually been before. But you cannot help but admire someone that that loves fighting that much and actually is there for you guys. If Conor McGregor wasn't in it for just himself, but he's in it for the fans as well. He didn't want to see these fans turn up for a fight that was going to be underwhelming. He wanted them to turn up for a fight that it was going to put on show something that they're paying for, the entertainment value. So when he lost that fight, he put all of his cards out there and they didn't pan out. Then he steps back in and he does that fight for himself. I think the second fight wasn't as much for the fans, even though the fans wanted to see it. It was more for himself to really prove to himself that he could do it. Now he's back on his path to glory. He wants to make a name for himself as a one fighter to have two belts at two different weight classes. And no one can really discard that. Even though people are Nate Diaz fans and think that he should be getting a next rematch, you got to take into account the weight here. That is something that just has to be taken into account.
You know what's actually pretty funny, and not in fighting style, but by God, Nate Diaz, the Diaz brothers, really, and Conor McGregor are so similar in personality. And what I mean by that is that these are the same type of warrior mentality between the two fighters. What I mean specifically is they will take a fight on 4 days' notice. They will take a fight when they want. There's a separate breed of fighters in the UFC, like the Diaz brothers, like Conor McGregor, and I would have said like Demetrius Johnson for a long time, except he had to pull out of a fight recently because of injury. And injuries happen, right? And I'd say even Daniel Cormier is another guy who's been out there.
Yeah,
he'll
absolutely.
step up and he'll fight. Anderson Silva, with everything he's been through. Another person to throw out there just out of just great respect for the fighters in the sport because he stepped up and fought Daniel Cormier. Was it a fight? No. Was it important because it gave Daniel Cormier someone to at least step into the octagon with? Absolutely. So the main point of that is they're so similar in the way that they'll take fights, that they're warriors. Whereas I want to transition quickly, and we have to wrap up this clip in general, to Jose Aldo's recent words, because here's somebody who, man, UFC fighters and me, it's like a light switch. I can like them at one point and dislike them at another point. Like, they really do pull at your heartstrings, or whatever you call it. What is it, your heartstrings?
Heartstrings.
Jose Aldo is a fighter that I respected to the greatest degree because of his ability to defend his belt, his dominance over the featherweight division for nearly a decade, his style of fighting, his ability to adapt, especially against when he came back against Frankie Edgar and just showed that if he wants to fight defensively, he's going to do it better than anybody else in the division who were fighting in that specific division at that time. Except now he's kind of acting like a child in a way. Here's the two quotes he had to say to Sport TV, which is a Brazilian TV show, and again translated once again via MMA Fighting. This is about if he would take McGregor versus Aldo fight, if that's what would stop him from wanting to retire. No, not even that, because that would be the right thing to happen. This fight is the fight that should happen next in the featherweight division. I conquered that ever since I entered the UFC. I saw other champions losing and fighting right away for the belt. That was the right thing. He continued to say later on, a good thing would be if they released me without a fight. I'm not mad at the UFC or no one else. I like Dana. I have a special love for Lorenzo Fertitta, a guy that always treated me well since I got to the UFC. If there's something good from this, I hope they release me so I can follow my way and the UFC follows its way. Let him go then. You know, let him go. Release him for his contract and let him walk. Call him out on it and see if he's that serious about walking away. Because if you say that, okay, we'll give you your fight after UFC 205, UFC 208 in March, at the Garden again, well, you can fight McGregor for the featherweight title again. And he's just saying, no, then let him go.
Yeah.
It's not that I've lost the respect for Jose Aldo that I used to have. I'm just shocked that this is what it's come to in his mind.
Yeah, he's
I get frustration,
he's upset. And again, he's still embarrassed, even though a convincing performance against Edgar, it still doesn't change what happened against McGregor after all the hype in that fight, being cancelled once and then finally it happening. he embarrassed. He was embarrassed because of that. So I did feel for Jose Aldo the fact that he didn't get the fight. People were talking about Khabib. I thought that Jose Aldo should be the one that felt disgruntled more than anyone else, and he definitely did. He's quitting. But that's what I think the next step would have been. That's why I think Dana. Otherwise, why does Dana care? Like, yeah, he exits the featherweight division. There's still other fighters in there that want a shot at McGregor. There's still going to be a title shot in there. But the reason
Frankie Edgar finally get what he wants.
He finally get it.
He's like, everyone quit. I get the belt.
But the reason that Dana White wants to hold on to Jose Aldo simply is because that's the next fight. Conor McGregor, if he beats or doesn't beat Eddie Alvarez, regardless, he needs to defend his featherweight title. That's it. Whoever he fights after that that's where Diaz would come in the line after those 2 fights. But I think that Dana White, again, is thinking ahead of the future. He doesn't want to let Jose Aldo go. If Jose Aldo was redundant and didn't fit into his plans anymore, he'd be like, all right, see you later. But he doesn't. He wants to keep Jose Aldo because he knows that's another money maker after this next fight.
Yeah. Well, comment below, like, favorite, subscribe to the channel. See, do you agree with what we're talking about? Do you agree with letting Jose Aldo go? More importantly, when do you think Nate Diaz versus Conor McGregor 3 will happen, opposed to if it will happen? I believe it's pretty much going to at some point. Maybe not the near future, but the future. All the social medias in the description box below. I'm looking at my hand, which has nothing on it. So bye-bye.
I was like, wait, what?